Hey everyone, so here we are starting another podcast once again. So introduce yourself, I guess, once again.
I'm Gen X, Gavin's dad.
Yeah, you're here to embarrass me.
Yep, if I can.
Okay, so basically what we're going to be talking about today is we have two topics back to back. We're going to be talking about Black Widow, which we just saw yesterday.
Yep.
And we're also going to be talking about the upcoming Stephen King adaptations, which have been out for a bit, but there's something we both have been wanting to talk about, especially since during the summer, for some reason, we both end up reading Stephen King.
Yes.
And eventually these will come, hopefully.
So when we talk about Black Widow here in the beginning, are we going to spoil it for people? Is this non-spoiler, spoiler-filled? How are we doing this?
Whatever, spoiler, who cares? Like, honestly, there's hardly anything to spoil in this movie.
Okay.
There's like maybe one thing or two things.
We'll try not to spoil any twists.
Maybe.
Let's not do that.
Fine. I guess we'll give a spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free.
Even though there's like one thing we could spoil throughout this entire thing. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay.
That's who the Taskmaster is.
Okay.
Besides that, we can't really... There's not much to spoil about this movie. It's pretty mindless. Okay, so Black Widow. The most recent MCU movie. It's been about 2 years since we've gotten anything from the MCU.
Yep. And this one takes place right after Civil War.
Yeah, so WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki was almost finished during this. I haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki, so this is like the first MCU movie we've gotten in 2 years. Where do I even begin? Like, I don't know.
Go ahead, begin.
Okay, yeah, I hated it. I really didn't like it. Maybe I didn't utterly hate it with the burning passion, but I really wasn't a fan.
Hate is a very strong word.
But I'll just say I really don't like
Let's talk about
it.
why. Like, it's one thing to say I hate it. Give us, not all your reasons, but give us one or two reasons why you did not like Black Widow.
I mean, if you want to check out my entire thing, I have my letterbox linked in my about page. You can check the full review out, I guess, of what I thought about it. It's hard to really even say. It was just a disaster. Like, really.
Give us some reasons why.
Well, I'm trying to get to there. You just keep shutting me off. First off, the pacing is disgusting.
Okay.
The pacing is terrible.
Okay, but see, I don't understand pacing. I want you to explain this.
Okay, so pacing is kind of like how fast the movie goes, and like how, and then there's like slow pacing. So like a movie like Shawshank would be slow paced most of.
Pacing.
Like it's a slower movie. It's a slower burn. It doesn't mean it's boring. It means that the way it moves is not as hyperactive.
Understood. But if pacing's all over the place, like in a movie, like a lot of movies, there's some parts where it's going kind of slow, and then some parts where it speeds up. I see that in a lot of movies.
But I felt like with this one, I kind of like it drags this stuff on and off, and it just kind of like there's like a massive action sequence at the beginning, and then there's an insane massive slow burn, and it just kind of happens.
Oh, I got you.
And then there's a massive action sequence again, and then the rest of the movie is just a non-stop Fast and Furious levels of stupidity action sequence.
Wow, okay. So the pacing, you didn't like it because of the pacing?
No, I didn't like the pacing at all. It was terrible.
See, I would say it was okay. I'd put it in the lower echelon of Marvel movies. Not quite at the Dark World level, which I don't think is good at all, like Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's like Ant-Man level, maybe a little bit underneath Ant-Man, but that kind of Marvel movie where nothing massively important happens. There's a couple of laughs. I don't think there's any big revelations. The villains aren't that compelling.
Mm-hmm.
The story isn't that compelling, but it's just kind of like it was okay. That's where I would rank it.
It was a movie that made money.
Yes.
It's gonna make a lot of money.
Yes. But was it the worst Marvel movie?
No, there's some very low ones.
So give me like a low Marvel movie.
Captain Marvel.
Okay. So you say this was better than Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's like not saying much.
Any others?
Far From Home.
Okay, it's better than Far From Home. I agree with that. Far From Home was not good.
No.
Any others?
I'm trying to think. I know there's a couple. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 I think is a little bit worse. I'd probably say.
I see that one's a tough one for me because the characters are so entertaining that that one might be better than this.
But part of the reason why I hate it is because of the fact is the characters. I think Drax was an awful character. In fact, the actor who played him agrees with me.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying just Drax. I'm saying Quill is a good character. Gamora is a good character. Even Nebula, like we've seen, become a good character. So they're good characters in there. Rocket Raccoon's a funny character. Quill's dad, like adopted dad, I can't remember his name. The Marauder, the Reaver. You know what I'm talking about. The guy with the mohawk. He's a pretty interesting character. I can't remember his name. I don't know why.
Yondu.
Yondu, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, Yondu's like the only good thing in that movie.
So they're good characters. And I'd say like Black Widow. Yeah.
Is not a very good character.
I think she is a good character. I just don't know if this is the best movie for her.
No, because like the thing is, I think she has a good setup. I think there's interesting things somewhat about her, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, it was what I meant. What I meant was, in this movie, she's not a very good character.
Yeah. It's hard for her to carry the movie on her own, I think. And the other characters don't give her much help.
The thing is, no one really lets her carry the movie on her own.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there are a lot of things going on.
Yeah, and it's like I felt like I didn't know Black Widow at all.
Yeah.
Like in this movie, like if I didn't see the other MCU movies, I don't think I would like know anything about her.
You think they'll do another Black Widow movie? You think this is it?
I hope this is it.
It probably is, don't you think?
Yeah. What else are they gonna do?
I don't know. They're pretty unlimited. You know, because they can explore the time between Civil War and Infinity War and make a bunch of different movies. You know what I mean? They could look at the time. I'm wondering if they'll ever try to do this. Will they do movies that are like post-snap, but like in that 5-year period? Do you know what I mean? Where the world was kind of in chaos.
That could work.
I honestly think that might be really an interesting thing too, where she's running the Avengers or what's left of the Avengers. I wonder if anyone's thought about doing something like that, because that might be really interesting.
The thing is with this movie, like the things with the MCU, they have so much stuff that they can do. Yeah. And there's so many big things they can do that it's like they have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
They just don't know like what to do. Because they're just so used to making like these blockbuster movies.
Well, they had a pretty good setup. They had a group of characters that were really popular, that were making lots of money, and it is like they're starting over. And maybe it's really hard to figure out how to start over.
Exactly. Like, I know the next movies they have are going to be, like, different, I guess. Like, The Eternals, apparently. Or, like, Shang-Chi. But it's like, they still don't really feel right, I guess.
Yeah, no, they set the bar high.
Yeah, they did.
They did something really well, really successful, and they're not just going to be able to, like, snap their fingers.
Yeah. Ha! No pun intended.
And start over.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like renew whatever they're gonna do, because like what are they gonna do different, you know? Like the thing is, it's like they always like the thing is, especially when it comes to like a visual standpoint, because that's what film like originally was. It was a visual medium, and it's like with the MCU movies, they always, a lot of them, most of them at least, have like bland cameras and very simplistic color schemes and stuff. That just so it all seems consistent, because they can't do anything unique with the visuals because they want to keep that consistency.
Well, yeah. My personal thoughts, what they're going to try to do is build up again individual characters through standalone movies. Not this one so much, because I don't see this one going anywhere. And then reconstitute a new Avengers team.
But what I'm trying to say is like they can't really get any directors to like have their own visions completely, because they're so used to doing these bland camera schemes.
Yeah.
Like these color schemes and these some very like dull cameras, and like I feel like that's definitely a major issue, because they can't do that, and there's so much, and they're so used to doing these big action-filled blockbuster movies, and that's kind of what this
I push
shows.
back a little bit on that, because I think Ragnarok visually is different than any other Marvel movie.
Yeah, that one's true. There's a couple exceptions.
So I think they're trying to find that balance of Disney has to have some creative control, because if they want it to tie into a larger story, but they don't want, like you said, they don't want to make it totally bland. And I think Taika Waititi was able to really show how that could be done well.
Yeah, but that's like the only exception. Like honestly, like Thor had some good visuals. I feel like Thor 1 and I feel like the Thor movies are like the only visually interesting films.
Well, and not just speaking about visuals, but like individual director, like putting their stamp on something. Like the Russo brother movies definitely have their own feel to them. I know that's become like what Marvel is like the Russo brothers' vision, but you got to go back and remember when the Russo brothers first did, Winter Soldier. That was very different and looked different and felt different than any other Marvel movie. I think that was so successful that's kind of what Marvel became.
And it's kind of unfortunate, because there's nothing really else unique with what they can really do exactly.
No, but when they start over, they might. You think about Shang-Chi, not super jazzed about the trailer. It looks okay. But then I think about the Eternals, which, wow, that one could go either way.
Yeah.
It really got, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look interesting to me, but neither really did Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, what is this? And I loved it. Maybe they could do a repeat of that. I'm really interested in Blade, how they rejump that character, because I think that's a part of the Marvel Universe that hasn't really been explored at all yet, and it's really interesting, and I think people might really like that. And then maybe, like I said, you take some of those characters like Shang-Chi, like Blade, others that have these successful individual movies, and then you reconstitute a new Avengers. Maybe you bring back Scarlet Witch as a part of the Avengers. I think the Hulk is probably done.
Yeah, like there's nothing you can do with him.
I think maybe Doctor Strange is a part of the new Avengers, and it's more of a mystical group, with Blade and Shang-Chi. That might be kind of interesting.
Yeah, because apparently they're setting up the Dark Avengers, which is like, I guess sort of like what they did, like what the DC did. They had like this thing called like the Dark Force. In the comics or something.
Yep.
And they're trying to do it with this one.
Well, the thing is, Marvel has an unlimited directions to go in because they have so much source material to draw on.
Yeah.
I think the multiverse things are really interesting. There's storylines in the comic books about that. There's stuff involving Kang the Conqueror. There's the Secret Invasion TV series they're doing for Disney. It could also lead to Secret Wars. Like, they could do that. There's just so much they can do.
I feel the thing is, though, another issue with this is that since it's all taking place in the same universe, and there's so much stuff going on, the timeline is going to start to get really messed up.
Yep.
Especially when they're already starting to go back in time with the movies. Like, taking Black Widow in place with after Civil War, and stuff like that. That just doesn't really make any... That's just kind of just going to mess up the timeline entirely. And it's just
going to... If the movies are entertaining, I don't think people will care.
Yeah, well, yeah, the audience won't care, but it's like, people like me aren't going to really care.
And the X-Men haven't even really been introduced yet, and
that's a whole nother thing.
That's going to be coming. The X-Men will be coming.
The
mutants will be coming.
But, like, another issue, I guess, what you could say is, like, the world might get kind of just so odd and confusing. Because, like, if they're thinking of doing Deadpool, and if they are going to add Deadpool into this universe, what are they going to do? Because he's Deadpool.
Yeah, who knows? Are we done with Black Widow? I feel like we veered off Black Widow.
I feel like we did, because, honestly, there's... if we actually talk about Black Widow itself, it's like...
But we both agree, lower echelon Marvel movie.
It's just there's just nothing of value, really. Like, what does this movie have that no other MCU movie really has? Or, like, anything new of it, really? It just feels like kind of rinse and repeat. And it's going to make a lot of money. I bet anything it'll make at least, like, $500 million. Or maybe even $1 billion. I wouldn't be surprised.
$1 billion, maybe.
Captain Marvel made, like, $1 billion, I think.
Then maybe it will. Well, I think, what are they trying to do? Transition from the old Black Widow. Maybe create a new Black Widow. There's always that. Like, they're always trying to set up the next thing, which sometimes can get annoying.
Yeah, it's going to get really annoying eventually.
So should we go on to our main topic?
Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, so our main topic is going to be upcoming Stephen King movies. This one, I don't know how much...
Any adaptations?
Or, like, any adaptations that are kind of going to happen. I think we could have gone, like, a lot longer with Marvel, though, for really going to dive into that. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like Black Widow as a whole, it's just not very interesting. It's just kind of a movie that's just, a movie.
We could go further with Marvel. We could talk about DC, but they're not doing much except for Suicide Squad.
Well, I mean, they are doing things. They're just not making Disney Plus miniseries.
Well, or a lot of movies. They're working on Shazam too.
Yeah, but it's like Suicide Squad's like, that's the one that's going to come out this year. And it's a lot, I'm much more excited for that than, like, the Eternals or Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I might be too. Now, like I said, I like Blade. I don't know when Blade's coming out. That's probably next year.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be like 2023. It's not even in this phase.
Wow, that hurts.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm more excited for the miniseries, like things, TV shows, than the movies, really. So, okay, the first one that popped up on this one that you sent me was Lizzie's story.
See, that one's already started. That one's not upcoming. That's on Apple TV right now.
Okay, when was the date on this? Because you sent this to me.
It's May
13th, 2021.
Yeah,
so it's like a month ago.
Relatively recent.
2006 novel of the name. Have you seen any of it?
I haven't. I've read the book. It is a good book. I have not watched this miniseries. It is on Apple TV.
Mhm.
I feel like maybe we should skip over this one because it's already out there.
But I mean, we could kind of still talk. Based on the Stephen King's 2006 novel of the same name, Lizzie's Story is finally getting a small screen adaptation, premiering exclusively on Apple TV Plus this June. The 8-episode limited series is said to bring the same elements of romance and psychological horror as the original Bram Stoker winning novel. King has stated that Lizzie... Wait a minute, this is a Bram Stoker.
No, I won the Bram Stoker Award.
Oh.
It's like an award in...
Oh, okay, never mind. King has stated that Lizzie's Story is his favorite of all novels he's written, and even... Really? That's his favorite novel?
Well, it's about a writer who dies. I mean, a lot of his books are about writers.
Oh, yeah, a lot of them are.
But it's about a writer who dies, and then his wife ends up looking through kind of his notes and his old works, and then there's people threatening her, and it involves this fantasy world that her husband created. It is an interesting book. It's one of his best. Not one of his most popular, but I think it's one of his best. And I could watch the show. I have not watched the show. I don't know why, but I was not very interested in it.
Okay, let's see. What's the next one gonna... Okay. There's more about it, though. Lizzie's Story stars Lizzie Lazen, the widow of best-selling author Scott Landon, and...
Like I said, her husband died.
Yeah, okay, so you kind of did the whole plot synopsis.
Yeah.
The one thing that caught my eye was it says the series is produced by J.J. Abrams. Okay, well then you're kind of doomed.
Yeah.
If he has anything to be involved with this movie.
Yeah, it's like I said, doesn't really interest me all that much. I haven't been that excited about it.
I mean, why does a movie show? Like, I don't know. J.J. Abrams, why is J.J. Abrams producing this?
I don't know.
Why would...
I don't know how he's connected. No, he does buy up a lot of properties.
Okay, that's probably why. He has a lot of money.
He does. So then he knows this is going to be popular. Stephen King is hot right now. It's something worth buying.
I mean, I just hope he doesn't really have much to do when it comes to the writing. Because we know how that ends up.
Yeah, but I don't think he does for this one.
Out of a few brief glimpses, a full look at the upcoming series has not been... Okay, yeah, we'll just kind of skip that one. Firestarter, which is something you are really addicted to.
Yeah, well, I started rereading it because it's a really interesting story, and I haven't read it probably since I was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that story of a government agency called the Shop, which is like the CIA, that performs experiments on American citizens,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those experiments give them power. And rereading it, very similar to like the X-Men, even though I know that's not the X-Men's origin, but it's this idea that it activates like a latent ability in some people. Like maybe they can read someone else's mind. Maybe they can push someone to do what they want them to do, like influence them. Maybe they can move things with their mind.
Mhm.
Or in the case of the Firestarter, she can create fires with her mind.
Okay, well, definitely interesting. I haven't seen the movie or read the books. I don't gotta say much. Is a novel published by King in 1980 and later adapted into a feature from 1984, which I haven't seen, but it doesn't seem like people talk about it very much.
They don't a lot, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it wasn't that well done. Drew Barrymore plays the little girl in here, and she was really famous at the time. Remember, she was in E.T., so this would have been after E.T. I think, was E.T. 83?
Mm-hmm.
No, or 80. You would know.
I think it was 1984.
No, I think it's before
82.
that. 82 maybe, because this is 84, and so this is after. Like Drew Barrymore is a little bit older than she is in Stephen King playing Gertie, not Stephen King, in E.T. Where she plays Gertie, the little girl.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it. I have really nothing to say.
But the original had Martin Sheen in it as well, who's also in The Dead Zone. Really good actor. I might go back and rewatch, but I'm excited for this. I think Firestarter is one of the novels that got lost a little bit, and rereading it, it's pretty good. It's definitely entertaining.
I mean, to be fair, it was kind of released at when was it released? Was it released in like 1980?
Yeah, the novel.
The novel was when
Yeah,
it.
novel
So,
was 80.
which is kind of when Stephen King was already popular and where he kind of already had like a name,
Yeah.
and that was like in between like. What was it really in between? Was it in between like The Walk and
Well, that would have been after Carrie and Salem's Lot.
The Long Walk, I think.
Wasn't The Shining? Well, the movie The Shining is 1980.
But
right?
the
the
book's like
earlier.
1978.
So this would have been like after a couple of hits. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's like he just kind of I guess it just like, and after this, I think Cujo came out like a couple years
now I
later.
am reading the article here that Zac Efron will be in the movie playing one of the main characters.
I forgot who Zac Efron is.
He's the guy from High School Musical. So I don't know. Like,
he's also the guy from Scoob too, which is funny.
That worries me a little bit. Keith Thomas would be the director. He did a movie called The Vigil, which I've heard is good, but I have not seen. Like a creepy horror movie.
So basically, you're getting the dude from High School Musical who was in Scoob because he's a famous, famous actor that people know.
Should we go to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, what else is there really to say? Apparently, it'll come out in 2022. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to come out this year. So, Overlook, another Stephen King adaptation. I have no idea.
TV series, it looks like.
Yeah, well, not. Apparently, it'll be an HBO Max series produced by J.J. Abrams again. Did he buy Stephen King's properties or something?
It looks like some of them. I don't know about this one. This is like a prequel to The Shining about the hotel. And it talks about several iconic characters from King's novel. So I'm assuming the chef that has The Shining will be in there. What's his name again? The guy played by Scatman Crothers.
I forgot his name.
Yeah. Well, the guy played by the Scatman. I can't remember.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
Yeah, but so I'm assuming he'll be in there. Maybe the Grady will be in there. Maybe they'll show what happened. That would be really disturbing.
Yeah.
But so this is a prequel TV series. Looks like it will be HBO Max.
Yeah, it says HBO Max.
Okay, so that they can do whatever they want with it. There it doesn't have any actors that will be in there. I don't know how to feel about that one.
Same, honestly. I mean, I don't know what to say. I feel like they're gonna milk The Shining as much as they can until they get everything they need from it, because The Shining's it's probably the most iconic Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of Stephen King's most iconic books, really.
Yep.
I guess, and partly because the author, Stephen King, hates the movie. So I guess that's part of the reason why they went up. And just because, everyone loves The Shining.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Overlook is a creepy hotel. Like I said, you could go back to the 1920s and tell stories. You could have Jack Torrance back there because there's that famous image in the film where it shows the picture of Jack Nicholson, but it's back from, the 1920s in the Overlook. Mm-hmm. So it's possible they could do all kinds of things with it,
Yeah.
Show some of the earlier murders in the hotel or problems.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm that interested for it.
I mean, I don't know really what to say. Just kind of leave it alone. There's nothing really you can do with it.
What's the next one?
The Dark Half movie. Over the years, many acclaimed and cult horror directors have adapted various novels of Stephen King. Stanley Kubrick directed, blah, 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 you get it. Done the Dan Creepshow, and Creepshow took a stab at adapting King's 1989 novel, The Dark Half. So apparently George A. Romero, who did Night of the Living Dead, David Cronenberg, who did The Dead Zone, so David Cronenberg, George Romero,
they're not
directors like this. Yeah, they're not directing it, but they attempted apparently.
Romero did The Dark Half in '89 because there was already a movie made of it.
Oh, really? Yes. Oh, I didn't know he did that one.
It was not very successful. It's about a writer who writes under a pseudonym. Stephen King has Richard Bachman.
Yeah.
That's a pseudonym.
Yeah.
It's about a writer, again.
Oh, great.
A pseudonym named George Stark. And when he writes George Stark, he writes kind of heavy, angry, disturbing. I think if I remember right, I read this book a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But George Stark actually comes to life. So it's the dark half of him. He's this writer who writes these things, but he's got this pseudonym, which is his edgy side. Richard Bachman might be King's edgy side.
Okay, so pseudonyms someone's
fake name.
Demented side.
Yeah, it could be. It's a fake name. Sometimes writers might write something where they don't want to be recognized for it. They want it to stand out and be different, so they'd write under a different name, a pen name.
Okay.
Right? And so the Bachman was King's pen name.
Oh, really?
Pseudonym, pen name. Let's say it's a fake name.
Okay, well that makes me more interested in it.
So this is his pseudonym becomes so real that it's unclear. Is it the main character that's been possessed by his alter ego, or has the alter ego become real and is doing these horrible things?
Is the Dark Half movie good?
Middle of the road. Maybe it's something you should watch.
Okay.
But clearly, Not great because they're redoing it. they're gonna give it another.
Well, I mean, they're gonna redo The Shining at one point or another. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it does not look like there's any. The director is Alex Ross Perry, who I don't know.
I don't know him either.
There are no directors attached at this point, but that's another property.
Okay, well, I don't have much to say, so.
Okay.
Chapel Watt, or however you pronounce it, the series.
Looks like Chapel Wait, but it's hard to say.
It's based on a Stephen King short. Oh yeah, we love it when those happen. Jerusalem's Lot, not to be mistaken with Salem's Lot. Chapel Watt, or however you pronounce it, is an upcoming 10-episode series. Adrian Brody as Captain Charles Boone, who relocates with his children to the dreary little town of Preacher's Corners after his wife dies at sea, only to discover a dark family history there. Chapel Watt is said to be set in 1850s Maine and will premiere on Epix. So, why would you have it premiere on a something that no one uses? But
well, it's supposed to be released in July of 2020, which is this month. So maybe it's coming out soon. Jerusalem's Lot is the old name for Salem's Lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just took out the Jeru. So this is a vampire story.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how interested I am in it.
Same.
I don't like vampire stories set in the past that often, even though I know the original vampire story was in the past. The 1850s thing makes me a little worried. I keep seeing Adrian Brody in an 1850s style village in The Village, directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like that movie, so I'm kind of worried that this might make me feel like The Village, even though I know they're totally different properties, like totally different stories.
Yeah.
So I'm not really that interested in it, I gotta admit. I would much rather see, even though it's not in this list, a remake of Salem's Lot than...
Well, we're getting to that, so...
Yeah, well, there could be one coming, yes.
Yeah, so you just don't... Have you read the short story? Because I haven't.
Yes. But I'll be honest, it wasn't that memorable. And I don't think it's about the 1850s. I think it does reference that. But if I'm remembering the story, I don't think it's an 1850s story.
Oh.
I could be wrong. It's a short story I read a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Didn't give it a lot of thought.
Well, it's kind of weird to make it take place in a different time period.
Yes. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong.
Next one from a Buick 8. I haven't read the book from this either. A feature film adaptation of Stephen King's novel about 1950 Buick Roadmaster that serves as a gateway to another dimension has been in talks since 2005. When it was announced that George Romero would return to helm the film, in 2007, Tobe Hooper, best known for directing horror classics such as The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist, replaced Romero. However, the project hit a roadblock after roadblock and never managed to obtain financing. A big screening adaptation of From a Buick 8 is reportedly still in development. This is from director Jim Mickle, with Thomas Jane posed to star, although the project still appears to be in a standstill, as no news has surfaced since August 2020. We will never to see the vintage Roadmaster wreak havoc on the western Pennsylvania.
So, I don't know. I love this short story, or novel, excuse me.
Yeah, it's a novel.
I think it's great.
It's not a long one, though.
It's not like Christine.
I haven't read it. I read a little bit of it, this one, but I didn't read the whole thing.
So it's about a car that's not really a car, but it's not like Christine necessarily. The car is out murdering people. It's a little different than that. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt people, but it's totally different. I like the book. I'd watch the movie. I think it would be hard to do, and Thomas Jane is a decent enough actor, so I'll check it out.
I mean, yeah, I don't know who the director's name. I don't know who that is. Jim Mickle.
I don't either. So. Yeah, I don't know. So it doesn't ring a bell with me. I mean, I think Tobe Hooper died, did he not?
Yeah, he died.
So with Tobe Hooper doing it, I'd probably been more excited, or George A. Romero.
Yeah, or like a bigger director. That's what interests me about like a lot of movies. Like for example, we were just talking about the Suicide Squad. I wouldn't be interested in it that much if it was a different director, but James Gunn's attached to it. His name's attached to it. That's why people are interested.
Yeah, so I don't really know. I mean, maybe Mickle has done things, but I don't know. But there's been no news since August of 2020, so that does not sound good.
Okay, well that means it might not even happen. So, The Talisman is a novel written by Stephen King. This is gonna be the next one, and Betty Straub in 1984, about a 12-year-old boy named Jack Sawyer who ventures to strange world inhabited by werewolves and gunslingers. In order to save his dying mother, in 2001, King and Straub published a sequel to The Talisman entitled Black House. Now, a third novel is said to be on its way, concluding the decade-spanning trilogy.
See, I don't know much. I've read this, but it was so long ago. This is when to me, this like blends right in with the Gunslinger trilogy, even though I know it's not the same thing.
What is the Gunslinger trilogy?
The Gunslingers just by King, not by King and Peter Straub. But it is about this kid who ventures into a world where there are gunslingers, and there are gunslingers here. So this is one I'd have to reread because I don't have a strong memory of this book at all, or Black House, or the second one. And I'm pretty sure I read them, but they feel like the Gunslinger trilogy to me.
Well, I haven't read this either, so.
But they're saying TV series. I'm wondering if it's going to be a Netflix original. With the Duffer Brothers developing.
I mean, yeah,
so
I have no idea.
Stranger Things developers,
that might come for something.
Well, that gives me some thought that it might be decent. You know, they did a good job with at least season 1 of Stranger Things. Like, that's really strong.
I like all three, so.
I know you do. But they did a really good job doing something original and different at the time and really took the world by storm. So I'm encouraged.
Yeah, Stranger Things kind of started like a whole new genre of horror in a way, which is getting kids to, sort of having like funny kids or something and having like stereotypes now.
Well, I think what it did is it revitalized 80s horror. Yeah,
it did. In its own way it did, but it also like sort of got this group of kids, which as much as some of this are very cash grabby now, it did start something. So.
No, it did. It did. I think it went back to the 80s and took a lot of those tropes and created a cool series and then added something to it, which I think... I remember seeing the trailer for Stranger Things thinking, this is just the perfect show for me. It's got everything I like. John Carpenter-style music, 80s kids riding around on bikes. Like, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Adventure-type movie.
Yeah, well, I haven't read the book series, whatever it is, if there even is a third book at this point. But, yeah, I'm interested, so... Yeah, just see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Next one, Salem's Lot. This is one I'm kind of more interested in because I read the book. I don't remember a ton of it, but I remember bits of it. I remember the movie more. So.
Yeah, we've watched the movie.
Yeah.
Old miniseries.
Yeah. Salem's Lot is the second novel ever to be published by Stephen King, hitting shelves in 1975. Salem's Lot would later go on to be adapted in 1979 into a 2-part TV miniseries directed by Tobe Hooper. The story follows Ben Mears, who returns to the sleepy town of Jerusalem's Lot after several years, only to discover that the residents are being turned into vampires. Although Hooper's series was a slight departure from the original source material, it still received plenty of acclaim, and King's novel remains a slightly regarded work of supernatural horror.
So, what do you think?
Well, it could be something. Most of the first thing kind of just talks about how popular it was, so I guess I'll just go in the second part.
Well, it was really popular. It looks like New Line Cinema's going to do it. They're the group. And the director, Gary Dauberman, who I don't know, but worked on It Chapter 1 and 2 and works with James Wan. So kind of like looking at James Wan's team of people, maybe, to try to make this.
I mean, James Wan isn't that as great, but, I mean, he's still a decent director.
Well, he's a pretty good modern-day horror director.
When it comes to horror, yes.
Well, that's what Salem's Lot is.
Yeah, so I think something could work. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I feel like they could make something good out of it.
I think this would be good. Would it be modern? Would they go into the 70s with it, or would it be set in the 2000s? That would be interesting to see what they decide to do.
Yeah.
Ben Mears reportedly is going to be played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who is a really good actor, so I think that would be worth watching.
Yeah.
You know, I think that Salem's Lot's one of his best stories, so I think that would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Salem's Lot, I remember liking it. I didn't love it really, but I haven't read the book in a while, so.
I like the stories where there's not a lot of vampires. Like, there are some movies you watch where there's, like, thousands of vampires. They're all over the place. Like, the world is like, overrun with vampires. I don't like those stories as much. I like the stories where there's maybe one key vampire that you gotta find and get rid of. And yeah, there are other people that end up getting turned into vampires, but it's not as if they're, like, more vampires than people. And Salem's Lot does a really good job of starting very slow with how the vampire gets there, how it turns a couple people, and how gradually the town is taken over. So it's not like overnight, all of a sudden, everybody's a vampire, which is what I kind of liked about the story. I don't know how they're going to do that in a 2-hour movie, though.
I guess it's like, it makes it all more tension-filled.
Yeah.
And it makes it more like you can't escape, and that's why they do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, where it's like, people aren't showing up for work, there aren't as many people in the street, we're not really sure what's going on, but the rest of the town is just kind of going on, doing what they do. They don't really know what's going on. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, that apparently is it from what I can see. There aren't any more added on to here.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah, that is a good list.
What's the Stephen King property you would like to see remade?
It's hard to say.
Putting you on the spot.
I don't know which one I'd want to see remade. Christine, I think, could work.
Yeah, they are talking about that one, remaking. That's not on this list, but they are talking about remaking Christine.
Yeah, I think that one would work a lot better. I feel like they could be, because John Carpenter wasn't as loyal to the books. I felt like they could make a longer movie and have it more loyal to what Stephen King was trying to convey, because it's very different.
That's a good idea.
So, I guess that's going to be it.
That's it.
So, yeah, that's going to be for the podcast. Bye, I guess. I don't know how else to end this.
See you next time.
Yeah.